3.2.
OK, so we've got to give a presentation about a person from history. What do you think, Susan?
I'm really not sure. What do you think, Gemma? Do you think it has to be a famous person?
Well, no, it should be someone who we can find lots of information about. Someone interesting, who is worth giving a presentation about.
Yes, and I thought it'd be better if we chose someone less well-known, not someone who everyone knows. Then our presentation will be more interesting, I think. That way, maybe someone might actually learn something for once.
So who did you have in mind?
I was thinking about women in history. History is very often about men, you know.
Is it?
I'm afraid it is. A lot of famous writers, politicians, rulers, all men. But there were women in history too.
Well, yes, of course there were.
So, how about Sappho?
I've never heard of her. Was Sappho a woman?
She was, yes. She was a very important woman.
Was she a politician?
Actually, one of the first published female writers.
Oh, really? And what did she write? When was she published? 200 years ago?
No, she was writing more than 2,000 years ago. And she was a poet. And she lived in ancient Greece.
Oh, I see.
I think that Plato said that she was one of the greatest poets he had read.
OK, but there have been lots more poets since Plato's time. Anyway, I'm not sure I'm interested in poetry. Any other ideas? Anyone more modern?
Emmeline Pankhurst?
Was she a poet?
No, she was a British women's rights activist who lived in the late 1900s. When she was alive, women in the UK couldn't vote in elections, but she worked and worked. And in the end, the British government gave women the same voting rights as men. Unfortunately, although she had a major significant effect on British life, she died just before women got the vote.
Interesting. That reminds me of Rosa Parks. Have you heard of her?
I think so, yes. Wasn't she a black woman living in America?
Yes, that's right. She lived some time after Emmeline Pankhurst. Actually, it was in the 1950s that she became famous.
Oh, yes. And at that period, actually, in 1955 to be exact, black Americans didn't have equal rights. They had to go to different schools.
Yes, and they even had different seats on the buses and trains.
So what did Rosa Parks do?
Well, she went on a bus, and she wasn't a young woman, she was in her 40s, and she sat in the seats reserved for black people at the back of the bus. Then the bus got full up, and a white man came on and asked Rosa to give him her seat.
And what happened?
Well, she said no, and everyone was shocked, because of course a black person should always give up their seat on a bus to a white person.
And then?
Everyone was shocked, and she was arrested.
Really?
And when the news spread, this made people aware of the real differences between black and white people, and that actually life was unfair.
And that was the start of the equal rights movement in America. All started by one ordinary woman who only wanted to sit on a bus.
That's right.
Okay, so why don't we talk about two people, Emmeline Pankhurst and Rosa Parks, two ordinary women who changed their countries.
Good idea. You research Emmeline Pankhurst and I'll research Rosa Parks. Then we can get together tomorrow and exchange information.
Great.